I just got one thing to say. John Walker, you got knocked the fuck. Oh man, welcome to my Safe Gayven, guys. TGIF, you know what that means. Falcon and Winter Soldier is here. We are at episode 5. This is the penultimate episode, and this episode is called Truth. If this is your first time on my channel, first of all, welcome. I hope you like what you see and hear, and I hope you stay. Welcome to my Safe Gayven again. And if you could do me a favor, if you are not subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button. If you could please hit that like button, it'll really help with the YouTube algorithm, getting my channel and my videos out there, because I'm trying to get like the Flintstones kids. We're 1,000,000 strong and growing. But also with that, if you could not tell by the title, I am talking spoilers for episode 5 of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So if you have not seen that, this is your warning. Also, per usual, tonight I will be going live with my co-host Ron, and we will be going fully into this episode. I'm not sure exactly what time yet. Usually we go live at 7 p.m., but he told me he would let me know at noon, because we might have to go at 8 p.m. tonight instead of 7 p.m. But just be on the lookout for that. Make sure you have the notification button hit, so then that way when I post the alert that I'll be going live, I usually do it hours before we go live, but you'll get the notice. Now that all of that housekeeping is out of the way, let's get into this episode. I won't be doing a full play-by-play of the episode. I saved that for when I go live, but I just want to talk about the things that really stood out to me in this episode. But yes, just like I mentioned in the intro, we gotta talk about that opening fight. Like, that was a way to start this episode, and I was so happy to see John Walker get his ass beat. Although part of me was like, cause seeing Bucky and Sam struggle a little bit in terms of fighting John Walker, and yeah, they ended up winning, but almost like barely. I was just like, come on, man. Like, Bucky of all people, like, Bucky is a super soldier. Sam fought Bertrand the Leaper, one of the greatest hand-to-hand combatants in at least the comics, the Marvel Comics universe. And I was just like, for them to barely win, especially after last week where this is nothing against the Dora Milaje on sleeping on the Dora Milaje skills, because the Dora Milaje constantly and will always need respect on their name. But I'm like, seeing the Dora Milaje easily spank John Walker, and then seeing Bucky and Sam struggle a little bit, I was like, come on, like, y'all fought Thanos. And I think most of that is just because we didn't really see John Walker train or anything like that. But I mean, coming from a comic book knowledge, and granted, I know this is not the comics, but knowing what I know from the comics, like, John Walker is not a slouch when it comes to hand. Like, this moment right here shows Steve Rogers in the comics admitting that he cannot easily take John Walker in a one-on-one fight. And in the comics, John Walker's version of his super soldier serum is way more powerful than the version that Steve Rogers has. I also made a video of John Walker and what his capabilities are in the comics on my TikTok. So if you're not following me on TikTok, make sure you follow me on TikTok. Same name, BlackGayComicGeek. Thank you. So I mean, I know that, but I don't care. Like I said, this is the comics. I wanted John Walker to get spanked fully, like, not even a competition. But again, I have to give it up to Wyatt Russell. Like, he's become one of my favorite actors in this series, and one of the reasons I love continuing to watch his character. Despite his character being trash and him not being invited to any cookouts, stop inviting white people to cookouts. I love watching Wyatt Russell act. I'll also say right off the bat, like, this was my favorite episode of the entire series so far. And this episode caught me off guard a lot, because this episode reminded me of what they did in the first episode, where you had this huge opening action sequence in the very beginning, but then for the most part, the rest of the episode was pretty subdued and was way more character building and character development. And I was like, oh, why couldn't we have gotten more of that? And again, it goes to my criticism. Of course, I don't know what I don't know. We still have one more episode left. I still am of the opinion that I wish this show would have gotten more than 6 episodes. Maybe give them even the same amount of episodes that WandaVision, if we had 3 more episodes, because I like when the action and the drive of catching the flag smashers takes a back seat and you get more character moments between Sam, Bucky, even John Walker, and learning more about who they are as people and not just superheroes. And I just keep going back to that. Like, imagine if we got an entire flashback episode of what Carly's life was like during the blip and seeing why she became the terrorist that she is. Imagine seeing more of the relationship being built between Lamar and John Walker. So then that way, jumping forward a little bit, when you got the moment that he's going to speak to his parents, and it looks like that was his sister, and telling them that he died, and we're getting all this backstory about how Lamar really trusted you and he was so happy when you got the mantle of Captain America. Like, you actually feel for it because, again, this is storytelling 101. You're telling me instead of showing me, and that doesn't really garner any real level of emotion from me. Like, yeah, I felt something, but imagine how much better I could have felt and how much more of a connection I could have felt to this moment if I actually saw the relationship develop as opposed to just you're telling me. Because in a lot of ways, the hardest thing for people is to go against and root against and speak out against somebody that they know and have a connection with and are familiar with. That's why when you get issues like when somebody comes out that's a murderer and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe such and such murdered this person. He didn't murder me. Like, I just can't believe it. They would never do such a thing. And I'm like, imagine that level of conflict that maybe you could let the audience have if we actually got to know John Walker. Granted, that's not saying that John Walker needs to be defended, because even without getting all that backstory with John Walker, you got people, mostly these type of people, defending John Walker and justifying what he did. I'm like, there's no justification, especially with all the shit that's going on in the news media today. Like, I don't want to hear that. And that's also why I actually haven't watched them yet, because I'm just like, everybody keeps hitting me up like, oh, you're going to be so pissed off regarding that show. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to watch some anime because I'm not in the mood. That's why I still haven't even seen When They See Us on Netflix. But anyway, off topic. Also in this episode, they kind of teased a little Easter egg because I think I mentioned this before, but Joaquin Torres, hey Torres, but he picks up the mantle of the Falcon when Sam Wilson picks up the mantle of Captain America in the comics, and he actually becomes Sam Wilson's partner. And so they kind of teased that in this episode where Sam ends up leaving Joaquin the wings. And so I'm like, oh, is Torres going to become Falcon? Is he going to work on the wings and start practicing? Maybe. And also in this episode, we finally get the reveal, because they've been talking for a while that there's going to be some big comic book cameo in this episode. And we finally now know who that person is, and it's Contessa Valentina de Allegra. And I'm going to save the conversation about her tonight when we go live, because the name sounded familiar when she introduced herself. But when I looked her up and things like that, I was like, I know nothing about her. So like, in this moment, I'm Jon Snow. You know nothing, Jon Snow. So I'm going to let Ron talk more about her character and her connection to like the Leviathan and S.H.I.E.L.D. and Nick Fury and things like that. Because again, I looked it up and so I read about it, but in terms of like actually knowing more and could possibly make predictions about it, but of course, the person and the performance that really stole this episode for me, yes, Wyatt Russell was fantastic as usual, but Carl Lumbly coming back as Isaiah Bradley, I am so happy that this moment happened, because I've been saying since episode 2, if Isaiah Bradley does not come back and have a one-on-one conversation with Sam by the end of this show, I will be severely disappointed, because as I mentioned before, when you look him up on IMDb, you don't see him listed anymore other than episode 2. So I'm glad we got that surprise, because as soon as I saw him going to Baltimore, I was like, thank you! And also like how defensive and protective Eli Bradley was when he saw Sam coming to talk to his grandfather. He's like, wait, where you going? Where you going? He's like, nah, I'm coming back there. I'm coming. I was like, come on, Patriot. Like, yes. Now I'm just waiting for you to become a Young Avenger. And I'm ready for Marvel to announce the Young Avengers. And where is Hulkling? But yeah, so when you got to the scene and the conversation between Isaiah and Sam, like, I love that conversation. And again, Marvel continues to impress me with how much they go into race and the race conversation, because Isaiah wasn't holding back at all. Like, he was damn near letting it all out. And I was like, I wish every episode, granted, they have been, but I feel like this episode was the most unfiltered. And Sam actually was starting to get me mad in this moment and in a lot of these moments, because I'm just like, dude, how are you so oblivious? Like, how do you not get it? Even this whole conversation where he's just like, I'm trying to understand. And he's like, what don't you understand? And they started talking about the lynchings and the red tails and almost kind of like the Tuskegee experiment where he talked about him being experimented on and the dichotomy of being black and being a superhero and why he wouldn't have been accepted in this world. And Sam's just like, I don't get it. I grew up in the South. I know about lynchings and don't bit that bitter old man stuff to me. And he's like, you're black. You should know better. And I'm just like, yes, you should know better. Sam, what the hell? And I'm like, is he Republican? Is he a Trump supporter? Because what is going on right now? I'm like listening to Sam and I'm like, he's reminding me of every black person I've seen on Fox News that speaks out against black people. And I'm just like, no, Sam, if you are going to be Captain America, you need to read something. Before the Mayflower, A History of Black America. Or perhaps you need to read The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. Or I'm like, maybe you need to watch some old movies like Roots or the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman, rest in peace Cicely Tyson. Or maybe you need to get a Netflix account and watch some documentaries like The 13th. Or you need to watch Up From Slavery. Or this other documentary, The Untold Story of Emmett Till. That's also my wink and a nod saying, hey guys, if you're out there, you're a Sam Wilson or you're one of these type of people, you should probably pick up those books and documentaries and movies too. But the whole time during this scene, I was just screaming at the TV like, Sam, how are you not getting this? I don't understand. You are a black man in America, especially after what literally just happened to you in episode 2. What are you doing, bro? Like, you really think those wings and hanging out with the Avengers, you really let that shit go to your head. You forgot. And then also it's like every single freaking episode, Sam's always talking about how he can make a phone call to somebody. And I'm like, bro, again, who do you think you know? Like, you couldn't even get a bank loan in the first episode. With Sharon, you're talking about making phone calls to get her part. Like, and then even with Isaiah, you're just like, let's tell the world, you need to know, I can make a couple phone calls. Like, Sam, baby. Sweet summer child. Like, I don't even know what to say. So that would be my one criticism, at least with the character and how they're characterizing Sam. Well, I'm just like, if you are going to be the new Captain America, especially a black Captain America, yeah, you definitely need to read a couple books. Cause I'm like, you're there, but you're not. Because even the conversation that he was having with Bucky and trying to help him move on, because as they mentioned in the last episode, and then also going back to when we first met Sam during the Winter Soldier, he does counsel people from grief and former veterans and moving on, and that is what Bucky is. So he's counseling Bucky to move on with his life. And he's like, your life has always been attached to Steve Rogers and Steve isn't here anymore. So who are you outside of that? And that goes for both of them really, because he became the Falcon again because of Steve Rogers and pretty much everything about his life in the Avengers movies and everything that we've seen of him in the MCU has been the quote-unquote wingman to Steve Rogers. So now it's really about these two. Who are they as heroes without Steve? And speaking of that, like, I will say the one thing I'm disappointed in this episode, it's not a real disappointment, this is really a joke, but it actually, I mean, I'm still kind of salty about it a little bit because, quick little insert, yes, that is my Poe Dameron body pillow you see in the back, but I'm about to go into like a little mini tirade, not really a tirade, but like a conversation talking about just how my oasis is dry, my thirst needs to be quenched. I didn't really explain what I was talking about, but I'm mostly just talking about my desire to want to see queer representation in my comic book properties and the things that I love talking about, which is blood, sex, gore, and magic, fantasy, sci-fi, all that stuff. And there's like, particularly the MCU and the DCEU, there's none. And I make this comment all the time how like, as a black gay comic geek, more times than not, you have to choose between black representation and gay representation. Very rarely do you get both, you know, black and gay. But sometimes you get one or the other. You don't get any. Again, like I said, in the MCU and the DCU, there's no canonically queer leading characters. So I'm just like, Bucky and Sam. They literally had them on a ship in this episode. And I know I'm looking for stuff that is more than likely not there, but I don't care. My oasis is almost depleted. Like, I need some water. I need some thirst. I need to be quenched. And so I counted like 4 times that Sam and Bucky could have kissed in this episode and nothing. Instead, they had Bucky flirting with Sam's sister, and I'm just like, trash! Especially because, again, there have been several moments where they kind of tease that Bucky could be bisexual. And granted, obviously, if you're bisexual, it's not to say he couldn't flirt with Sam's sister and be attracted to Sam's sister too. But like, show me some male attraction too. Like, again, I counted 4 times that they could have kissed in this episode. But I will say one thing, at least Bucky doesn't seem to be attracted to white women. Because he went on a date with an Asian woman at first, and now he's flirting with a black woman. So I guess his time in Wakanda did something for him. So I will say, if they don't give me my queer Bucky, at least there's that. Don't put him with a white woman. But I mean, overall, that's really all I got to say for this particular review. I'll talk more about the episode and go more in depth when I go live, because there's certain things with like Carly and things like that I want to talk about that I'm not necessarily a fan of, where they're going with her character, especially after what happened in last week's episode. More about Lamar, more about John, more about everything about this episode. But yeah, overall, like I said, I really enjoyed this episode. This was my favorite episode of the series so far, so naturally I would definitely give this episode a blockbuster. But real quick, we all know what's in the box, right? Sam Wilson is going to go from looking like this, and next week, he's going to look like this. And I am fucking here for it. And I can't wait to see what the MCU version of that outfit is going to look like. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And like I said, please join me tonight. Be on the lookout. Again, hit that bell notification button so when I do post the alert that I'll be going live in the time, you will be notified. And I hope to see you tonight, Eastern Standard Time, 7 or 8 or maybe even 6. Again, I don't know. By the time this video posts, you should know, because it's 11:30 right now and I got to edit this video, and by the time it's uploaded, he should hit me up by then. But anyway, what did you guys think of episode 5 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier? What does this episode rank on your favorite episodes so far? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, if you can, again, hit that thumbs up button and like this video to really help out the channel. And if this is one of your first time checking out one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. And if you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video, when I make the alerts that I'm going live. And again, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button and tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.